Flipping isn't exactly real estate investing. It's an active job.
I did probably maybe 5 deals where I was just focused on building a resume, building something that I could pitch to people to raise capital.
Even if you have a great property in a great market, if you do not have a great team, it doesn't matter.
My goals have always been to beat my previous performance.
At 41, I'm thinking about, are these properties gonna last forever for me and be my retirement?
I'm really trying to focus more on like quality over quantity in the next year.
I'm here sharing inspiring stories about fearless entrepreneurial women to help encourage you to live your life unapologetically. I'm your host, Heather Blankenship. Welcome to the Unapologetically Me podcast.
On today's episode, I'm talking with Dominique Gunderson, and she kind of skipped the traditional route. She started investing in real estate straight out of high school, learning to flip in a totally different market than she lives in. She's done 80 flips now, y'all, remotely. So she is an expert at learning how to do these deals when you live in an expensive market. And she also decided to get married really early too, at 22 years old, going against what's kind of traditional right now. So let's jump in. Dominique, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Dominique, you have chosen something that a lot of people haven't quite figured out, and you've gotten good at it. People try to flip, even in the area they live in, and lose money. And you figured out how to do it from a distance.
Yep.
This is truly a skill. How do you think you figured that part out? Or talk us through it. How did you figure out flipping from somewhere else? You're not on the site. You're not overseeing the contractors. You're not micromanaging each day of the work, because as real estate investors, people talk about how, and it's true, flipping isn't exactly real estate investing. It's an active job, right? But if you figure it out from a distance and from anywhere, it makes it a little less active. You're at least not tied down to that location.
Totally.
So talk us through your process with that.
Yeah, there's, so many different angles to it. So happy to like go into more detail on any kind of direction you want to take it. But overall, kind of how I started and even got into that is I started doing real estate more on the wholesaling side, just like my very beginning stages in LA. Very expensive, competitive, high barrier to entry market. And I was young. I started straight out of high school and getting into real estate. And so once I had done a good amount of wholesale deals and felt like I kind of knew what I was doing, I knew contracts, I knew how to actually buy an investment property.
For a price that was good, right? Because
Right.
people are in theory buying these from you.
Right, exactly.
And they're going to do something with them.
Right, how to find deals, all that. It was a great foundation.
And I think people skip that part, because there's people on social media who have wholesale programs, and they're like, you got to wholesale. But then anybody who's got some long-term experience, meaning long-term investments or buy and hold, they're like, wholesaling isn't real estate. Yes, but most 18-year-olds, heck, even like 22, 23, friggin' 40-year-olds don't have access to the cash to start investing.
Exactly.
And doing something like wholesaling, even though it's not real estate investing, it's transferable skills that give you things as a base without having to go all in with so much money.
Totally. Yeah, it was such a good foundation of just like learning sales and marketing and like, even just connecting with my buyers. Like I learned.
Most people your age are scared to get on the phone.
Right, totally.
They're scared to talk to people.
Yep, exactly.
Or texting.
So, right, exactly. So yeah, learning cold calling, all that stuff. It was great. Taught me a ton, and I also saved a lot of money. Like that is how I started getting access to my own capital, is from wholesaling a bunch of deals and just saving it up. And so when I wanted to start transitioning into actually buying my own properties, flips and rentals, LA made sense. That's where my market was. That's where I had all my contacts and connections, but I was 21 at the time. So it just felt like such a high barrier to entry, like kind of over my head, especially for my very first solo flip.
So like I will never get there. Meaning because it's so, like the entry prices and the way you do that, it's like, this is so far from where I am right now. It seems unrealistic.
Right, absolutely. So I started looking out of state as just a kind of backup option, the next best choice, and started just...
So everybody says out of state, invest out of state. Talk us through how you, because you and I, before we started filming, we talked about when you have the option for things that is anywhere, that's even harder than when like you have a job and it keeps you in a place, or maybe your family lives somewhere. So when you're like, okay, I'm going to invest out of state, talk us through your strategy of picking out of state.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people would probably disagree with me on this and look more at like, what are the best markets with the best data and statistics and like population increase and all these kind of data points. For me, I looked at where I had the best competitive advantage in building a team, because that was going to be probably my biggest challenge, is like, if I'm not going to be there every day and I'm going to be flipping a very active role like you talked about, how am I going to manage that and
I don't
have
think people
oversight?
talk about enough. Even if you have a great property in a great market, if you do not have a great team, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It literally doesn't matter if you have the best house in the best market if
Right.
there is no team.
Right. It's about the execution. So I literally picked a place where I felt like I could, at the very least, even if I didn't know anybody in real estate or have like a partner there, I knew people, I had trusted people that could introduce me to their circles. And so my dad and his family all lived in New Orleans. And so that was like my first thought. Okay, I have someone who can show me around. He's not in real estate, but he knows from living there the different neighborhoods, kind of where to stay away from and where's booming and what's hot. And then also just like random connections, like, hey, you've probably called a plumber out to your house, or you might know the neighbor across the street's an agent, or whatever, just random little networking that I could start kind of getting access to and start meeting people and building a team. So that was like the main reason I chose that market.
I love that. And how long have you been in that market?
6 years.
Listen, y'all, I know today's episode is inspiring, but inspiration alone will never carry us to our ultimate goals. That's why I started the Society of Entrepreneurial Women. It's a mastermind for high-performing female investors and entrepreneurs who are living their lives unapologetically. In a world where most people don't get us, or they try to keep us confined in a small box, the Society exists to turn off the brakes and set you free. We have weekly calls covering investing, wealth building, health, relationships, family, and a whole lot more. We have small tribes to hold each other accountable to our goals. We have in-person, ladies-only retreats to disconnect and drive each other towards our dreams. And most importantly, this is a community where you can be unapologetically you. Celebrate your wins, scream your successes from the top of the rooftop, become best friends with women who get you. We're 3 years in, and I can honestly say my best friends today are all from the Society. Click the link in the show notes to learn more.
Okay, so talk us through that. You pick your market, you got a little bit of cash saved from wholesaling.
Yep.
What happens next?
So I started looking for property, kind of the low-hanging fruit, because I was brand new and didn't have a lot of networking connections. So the first deal I ever bought was just straight off the MLS. It was 2019.
Which is also underrated, right?
Right?
Especially in the economy we're in today.
Yep.
There are a ton of deals to be had on the MLS right now.
Totally.
Lots of stuff's negotiable. Lots of stuff's already at a discounted rate.
Totally.
And a lot of people get so obsessed with, I need an off-market deal, or I need this direct to seller, that for your first deal, let's get on the board.
Right.
And not lose money.
Right. Exactly. It's not about a home run on your first deal. You should almost know that it's not going to be a home run actually, but you're going to learn so much so that your next, 50 deals, you can have some good
Because
home
otherwise
runs.
you're going to spend, like, getting an off-market deal isn't quick.
Right.
So we always
Exactly.
talk about, like, in college for marketing, you learn about marketing funnels. And your different leads go into the top of the marketing funnel and they spit out the bottom at a different time. And those on the MLS deals, spit out quick. Those
Right.
people are ready to sell. They probably already started packing.
Right.
They're motivated. But those off-market deals, you've got to find their info. You've got to
Yep.
start talking to them. Maybe you start negotiating.
Yep.
Lots of them aren't going to work out. They're great deals, but they take
Right.
longer to spit out. So you could have literally already done this first deal, made a couple $1,000 and be on to the next one
Right.
before you get that off-market deal.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted something I could kind of find quickly without spending a lot of marketing dollars, like you're saying, just get one under my belt. Actually work with some construction teams in the area, actually work with an agent, like start building those teams and those networks that we got one under the belt, like one is done. Now we can move on to, better deals, finding more off-market
And did you
stuff.
move to Louisiana or were you living in LA still?
Still living in LA. Yeah, so I've never moved to New Orleans, even to this day. Everything is remote.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you flipped how many houses in New Orleans?
Oh man, I don't know, to be honest, off the top of my head, but we run about like 10 to 15 at a time right now.
So fair to say 20, 30, 40, 50 deals in New Orleans easily.
Oh yeah.
Remotely.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're probably in the close to 80 range or something at this point.
Okay, so we're tried and true with this method.
Yes.
You find it on the MLS, you buy your first property, what happens next?
So first deal, didn't lose money, which is great. Didn't make a lot of money. I think we made like 10 grand on my first flip. It was
Okay,
like
but you were also only like 20 years old.
Right. Yeah, it was great. I mean, I thought, again, it was a major success just because I got to learn so much, so many good lessons learned that I could apply to the next however many deals and get better and better and better each time. And again, it plugged me in with like, the first deal I did, I had a contracting crew that we ended up working with on the next couple of deals. That also led to my second deal. We met a neighbor through that house that referred me to my second buy, an off-market deal down the street. So like, it's just little things like that where you just start getting started, you start meeting people, you're in the business, and like the rest comes, you know, it's starting somewhere. So that was my big takeaway from my first deal.
And so I want to point out too, you didn't have a contractor's license.
No.
You didn't have some big experience on building a house or all of the moving parts with that. So how do you start looking for those types of people? Did you have a mentor? Did you stumble through it? Where do you start finding those key people that you need? Because we hear about like, oh, you need a contractor, you need a realtor, you know, you need an agent or a insurance agent, things like that. But there's a lot of more moving parts for a flip. So talk through how you start building that team.
Yeah, so I would say stumbled through it is a great way to explain what I've done over the years. It's been trial and error. Like seriously, the very first deal, the neighbor that lived across the street ended up doing the rehab. Like just literally walked over one day and was like, hey, can I quote the job? I'm a contractor. We had like 2 other quotes already and like his was the best and we ended up using him. So like random things happen all of the time in the team building aspect, not just construction, but anyone that you're going to work with. Most of the people that I have created great partnerships and like are on my loyal team have just been so random like that.
It's so funny you say that because I'm thinking through my great team members and none of them were hired from an ad.
Right.
None of them were from like, we need to post something, we're hiring somebody.
Yep.
All of our great team members were some other random something.
Yeah.
Related to someone we already had on our team.
Yep.
One of our great people is dating one of my other people.
Yeah.
Right? They were already a member of our community.
Totally. Just random referrals, random people you meet with and like just connect with and you're like, I could work with you. Let's find a place for you, you know, in the team. And so it's been a lot of that, but I leaned heavily and I still do into like the local network. Even though I'm not there all the time, I would plan my trips around like local meetup times so that I could attend and like meet a lot of other investors that I could start pulling referrals from. And just getting into those circles have been, I mean, huge, just like as challenges have come up, whether it be just on a random real estate level that most investors would know or on a local level that's very, you know, site specific to jobs I'm working on. Just having those connections with other investors who are in the same circle doing the same thing that we can like ping each other whenever and just help solve each other's problems. That has been huge for me over the years of growing my team, scaling, growing everything. So I leaned heavily into that, especially early on. And even now, like I host a meetup out there and it happens every so often. And so like I've put a lot of effort into kind of the networking side of things.
I think we should point that out too. You didn't just pick a market and buy a house. Mm-hmm. You invested more than just money there.
Totally.
And you've continued to do that. How many years has it been now?
6.
So you're 6 years in building that market. And there's also something else we should point out. I think it's sexy to be like, ooh, I invest in this market, in this market, in this market, in this market.
Yep.
You went all in on one.
Yep.
You've got your economies of scale, you've built your relationships. And so I'm of the opinion that if you go pick another market now, it is going to cost you significantly more money, even if the houses are apples to apples, because you've got to build that new team, stumble through all the stuff, get all the new systems and processes in place there. So there's so much value in picking a market and sticking with it.
Oh, I 100% agree.
So we get our first deal. You found the contractor. What happens next? How are you managing this flip remotely?
Yeah, so ended up, again, just kind of stumbling through that first renovation, learning a ton about the reno, I went out there a couple of times to just like see things firsthand of what was going on, where we were spending the money, like keeping good track of estimate notes and stuff so that I could get better and better with each estimate and scope of work that I built, just learning again a ton off of the first one to apply on the future deals. But yeah, I mean, we made it through the first rehab and then started kind of like the next one. I was going one by one, kind of slowly at the beginning for the first like almost 2 years, I would say, using my own capital that I had saved up from wholesaling. And it wasn't until I had done a couple deals, had some proof of concept, had some success that I was able to like put on paper and kind of start pitching out to raise capital.
I mean, you'd essentially built a resume in real estate at this point.
That's
right?
what I was doing, yeah. Just trying to build a resume that people would say, hey, I can maybe get on board with that, or I like what you're doing, something I could talk to people about, talking points. And so I did probably maybe 5 deals where I was just focused on building a resume, building something that I could pitch to people to raise capital. Because that was like my first big hurdle was like, okay, I only have so much of my own money. Like I'm pretty young and like pretty new, not a lot of experience. Like how am I going to get more capital to actually start scaling this thing? And so raising private capital was the first big hurdle and like change in my business, where once I got the first lender, I got the pitch down, I got the confidence, and now we were doing more deals. It snowballed so fast from there. Like once you
talk us through how you got your first lender. I feel like that's everybody's first struggle.
It is
because you get like you got to get the ball rolling, and once it starts rolling, you're great. But it's talking to that first person, having that first conversation, knowing how to ask them for that. Talk us through that.
So my biggest thing for this is tell everybody, anybody and everybody that you know or that you're like one connection away from what you're doing. Just talk about it. Don't even ask for money or specifically pitch a deal. That's like later conversations down the road. It just starts by being excited about what you're doing and talking about it with like a genuine passion. That's what I felt like I was doing. I would just like call people, and just every person that I interacted with would like tell them what I was doing. And the first lender I worked with, I was kind of doing some part-time work when I just started flipping in LA on the property management side. The first investor I ended up landing was a client of the property management company, had some rentals in LA, and literally like I just was talking to him when we were walking some of his properties and stuff about, hey, I'm investing out of state in New Orleans, like it's pretty cool, it's going well. And that led to further coffee meetings talking about it, and he was kind of like, I don't really like investing in California, there's a lot of red tape and loops and hoops to jump through and it's so expensive, like let me try this out of state thing. And so he became my first lender and ended up lending me like, man, a couple $1 million probably. He ended up doing a ton of deals.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of people be like, I don't have any rich family members and none of my friends have any money. It doesn't have to be your family or friends.
No.
And a lot of times you don't know how much money people have that you come in contact with every day.
Totally.
Because most people who have a little bit of money are not the ones with the expensive, obvious stuff that you see. You'd be surprised how much access other people have.
Totally. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be your friend or family member that you're like, well, I can't talk to them. They don't have any money to lend.
And then that also gets awkward.
Still talk to them. It does. It does. But you should still talk about what you're doing, because they'll pass your name along to somebody. Like, you just never know how the connections might happen, you know? So.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you get through, you're starting to scale now, because you realize I can only go so fast with my own money. So how do you start building out the processes remotely to be able to do multiple deals at a time? Because one deal at a time with your own money is a pretty easy concept to grasp, right? I think that a lot of people do that. But most people never get to this next phase you're in. So talk us through how you go to that next level.
Yeah, so I think it definitely started with the resources and the infrastructure of like the personnel who was going to be handling these projects, building backup lists upon backup lists of like every role that we had to fill between construction, project management, agent, lenders, all these things, title companies. Because I mean, those are the important pieces of people who are there actually getting your deal done. If you're investing out of state, like I always like to say this, when I go into town, like I like to go to my job sites, I like to check on things, but me being there doesn't really provide any value. Like, they're already doing it every day, you know, they're running the operation. So like, that is the type of team that you need to build in order for the out-of-state to be successful, because you're not going to be there. You're not going to have the oversight. So I spent a lot of time and focus, again, on the networking, tapping into other people's referrals and stuff wherever I could, and just slowly started building multiple teams of construction crews. Today we have like 3 crews that pretty much work full-time on all the projects. Multiple people on the agent position that could list the properties when they were done. Same with the lending side, like started pitching it to more and more people, bringing in more lenders.
So are you only using private money with this, or are you doing any bank loans?
Almost all exclusively private money, but like here and there I'll sub in a hard money loan or something, but like 90% private money.
I love that.
Yeah.
So changing gears a little bit,
Yeah.
You've also done something that's a little different in today's culture. You got married really early.
Yeah.
At 21?
22.
22.
Yeah.
Especially out of California.
Yes.
It is not traditional to get
True.
married at 22. Where I'm from in Mississippi, people are definitely married
Yes.
and already having kids by like 20 years old.
Right.
Where I live in South Florida, my husband has lots of friends in their 40s that are like, I'll get married someday.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll have kids. And you're
Yeah.
like, bro, that's like now.
Yeah, for sure.
So what made you decide to kind of, your whole, I guess I have answered my own question, but you've kind of gone against the grain in general. So you chose that with marriage too.
Yes.
Talk me through deciding to get married at 22 years old.
Yeah. So my husband and I, we met at church, and I met him when I was maybe 19 or almost 20. And it just, I don't know, we both just had the same goals, like from day one, like talked about even just like on our first date, like we both want this to go towards marriage, like if it's going to go anywhere, you know? And so we kind of just like established and had that connection up front of
Or dating with intention.
Yeah, dating with intention and chasing the same things. And so it just like, it felt like we were able to go farther, faster together than
So you had
apart.
already started some of the real estate stuff
Yes.
by the time you met him.
Yep.
Was he already on board with that, or was this something you had to talk him into?
He was fully on board. Like he is very, he is very like big picture, let me come up with ideas and thoughts, but like doesn't really finish them. Like I'm like the action side. He's like the brainstorming ideas person. So like the fact that I had something that was starting to conceptualize, but like it was still kind of just an idea, like a dream at that point of like, let's flip 10 houses at a time out of state, you know, like I was just starting to scale there. But like, I think he was very easy to get on board with the vision and, you know, the excitement of the future plans. So. And
do y'all actively work in this together now?
No, not so much. He is the full like background support. He hears all the problems, knows all the stories, all the craziness going on, but he actually day trades in the stock market, so he does that full time.
I love that. So he gets to be your like honorary psychologist.
Yes. Yep.
I love that. My husband has that role too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I feel bad for him because some days it's like, and you can't tell your team, right?
Right.
Because it's probably not as bad as it seems.
Right.
You just had too many things go wrong at once.
Exactly.
And if you tell everyone else, they're going to start being alarmed.
Totally. Oh my gosh, yes.
So you're really blessed to have that support.
Totally. Yeah, it's been great.
How about your family? What were they thinking when you were young and saying, did you go to college?
I didn't, no.
I'm going to choose this route as opposed to the traditional route now of college.
Yeah, I think overall, like, some of my family was not super supportive and like more pro education, go get a degree and stuff. But like my parents specifically were very supportive. They like, I think they knew and just saw in me like the hustle and drive, even from an even younger age. Like I was such an entrepreneur, like growing up and as a teenager and stuff. And so they knew like that this was my goal from, 15 years old, that I had this vision, I wanted to do this, and that I was going to go do it. Like, I don't think there was any questions in their mind. There were probably some points when they were like, I don't know, like what if this doesn't work out? Yeah, type of thing. But overall, I think, I've always had like that very entrepreneurial spirit. And so I think it was well known within my family that was what I was going to do.
So one of my first thoughts when you start explaining all of this is, gosh, Dominique, you're pushing out the cash. What about your taxes?
Yeah.
Like, since wholesaling, or not wholesaling, but the flipping, even the wholesaling when you were doing it, is such an active business.
Totally.
You would have huge tax burdens from what you're doing.
For sure. Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I started owning buying some long-term rentals as well, which were mainly my flips that we did the full reno to, and then just decided to keep kind of some of the better ones. So started to build out the rental portfolio to start getting that depreciation and some of those write-offs and deductions and stuff, which has been a huge help, huge blessing.
I feel like you have to get one horrible tax bill to be like, holy crap, I knew a new strategy.
Yes.
Because when you don't have the cash yet, or you didn't have a lot of money, you don't even have that thought yet. Totally. You're like, how do I do this?
Right.
And then it's like an afterthought of, crap.
Yep.
I did that wrong this year.
Yep. No,
now
for
I need
sure.
a new strategy.
And like it did dawn on me that like I did want to buy rentals and start holding stuff when I very first started flipping, but I was also like, I think we should knock some rehabs out, like kind of get the process down and get things a little more streamlined before I start taking on like long-term rentals and stuff, because that's just, again, a whole nother avenue of like the management side and the leases and all of that, which I also self-manage. So that's been really great, like kind of mastering one thing, starting to dive into the other, and now pairing them together really well with doing all the rehabs and stuff, and then just keeping them at the end.
Ladies, it's time to redefine the conference experience with the Society of Entrepreneurial Women Retreats. Step inside a world tailored for women just like you, where you can lead, learn, and unwind in style. Our retreats offer everything from insightful investing sessions to fun activities like salsa dancing, boat cruises, food tours, and so much more, ensuring you come back not just inspired, but truly refreshed. Join a community that celebrates you wholly and supports your every endeavor. Ready for a retreat that changes the game? Visit the link in our show notes and find out how you can be part of this exclusive experience.
So you seem to have progressed naturally into each one of these next phases. Is there something you're working on right now that you're really excited about?
I'm not like actively seeking a next phase yet.
Okay, it doesn't have to be business-wise. It could be personally, it could be business-wise. What are you excited about right now?
I right now am really excited about moving and finding a new primary residence. I know we were chatting a little before, but I spent the last year traveling full-time. My husband and I bought an RV and we traveled the country for a year, had a blast, like, gosh, so many cool memories made and just experiences had, but...
You were essentially like a digital nomad.
Yes.
At that point, in a camper.
100%, yep. And so it was great, but we did that with the intention of kind of figuring out where we wanted to settle and plant roots, and have now kind of figured that out on the central coast of California, trying to move back to
You're literally
California.
going back to where you started.
Yeah. I'm a big surfer, so I miss the beach a ton and want to get back there, but yeah, so I'm really excited. We're kind of in that season of like, let's buy something, let's plant roots, let's build new community, and just settle in this area, probably start a family in the next couple of years. So
what was your process of elimination? Because I feel like people with whether you have family in a certain area, or maybe it's a job that keeps you planted in an area, or maybe your kids are in some like specific school or something, people think, oh, it'd be really cool to be able to move wherever I want. But we're in the same season as you right now, where we can move wherever we want, which is even harder than you think it would be.
Right.
Because everywhere is an option.
Yes.
So talk me through how you narrowed down literally going back to California.
Yes. We literally went through this same debate that you're talking about like weekly as we were traveling. It was like, okay, well, we could move to the Midwest or even New Orleans, like where the business is or where it's cheaper, and like just save, and just kind of have this as like a home base, and then travel a ton more and like use our finances in other places to just enjoy and have fun. Or we could move to like somewhere that's more expensive, not super affordable, like higher barrier to entry, but we love, and like we just want to be there. It's almost like home is like a vacation, you know? And I think after debating back and forth a ton and like really debating, like spending some time in some of those areas where we were considering that it would be like a cheaper place to move and just kind of have a home base but not love the area, we just like we wanted to prioritize, like, we want to be home where we settle. We want to love it and like enjoy spending time at home and being home, especially if we're gonna like settle more in the next couple of years and like have young kids and stuff and probably be less willing to travel as much. We want to just be somewhere we love. And like after traveling the whole country, that was like our favorite place. So that was what really narrowed it down for us.
I love that your next step doesn't have to be building the business bigger.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like an addiction or a bragging right.
Yes.
For what is next.
Right.
And at your age to already be able to stop and say, my next step is figuring out how to settle down, essentially.
Yeah.
How to enjoy what we've done in our early 20s and now build a family and be able to spend time with them is, I don't know what word to use other than really mature compared to a lot of people who still haven't figured that part out. And it affects relationships. It affects your marriage. It affects the relationships you have with your kids because it's I don't want to call it a sickness. Man, that's mean. But like an
addiction.
It is, which is a sickness, right? So maybe it is a sickness that you've got to have that next thing. You got to have that next thing because it does create those dopamine hits and makes you feel like, you know, you've accomplished something, even if nothing's like played out yet.
Right.
That next thing that you get to talk about and dream about.
Totally. To
be able to channel that into another area of your life is really healthy.
Definitely. Yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot, just thinking about going into next year and new goals and stuff. Like my goals have always been to beat my previous performance. Like I want to do more deals, bigger deals, scale higher. And like, that is cool. Like to some degree, it is fun. It's fun to talk about, like you're saying, but there's so much pressure that comes with that. And there's so much that's not cool about it that like people don't talk about. Like bigger is not always better. And so I'm really trying to focus more on like quality over quantity in the next year. That's like, I think gonna be my motto for 2026. Like I wanna do fewer deals that can make more money per deal and just have less headaches, more time to spend with family and like free time. That's definitely like more the direction I'm heading.
I feel the same way. When I first started buying duplexes and triplexes, I bought a 4-plex and then a 12 unit, I didn't have a ton of cash. So I had to buy older properties that we remodeled.
Right.
And as I'm thinking about, because you and I are in different phases of life, right?
Totally.
At 41, I'm thinking about, are these properties going to last forever for me and be my retirement?
Right.
And they're not. They're freaking old, right? They were 100 years old when I bought them and we remodeled them. So I've spent the last 2 years selling those properties to then buy into maybe the newer stuff doesn't cash flow quite as well day one.
Right.
But it will be a better long-term decision.
Totally.
But we should also give credit to it takes that other stuff to get started if you don't have a big chunk of cash.
Totally.
You just have to learn to transition.
Exactly. Yeah, work your way up slowly but surely.
It doesn't have to be the perfect property when you first get started.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. Thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Remember, authenticity is your superpower. Stay unapologetically yourself and let's continue embracing our uniqueness together. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss the next episode.